Hello, and welcome to Nothing Zilch Nada. And I'm Jacob Green.
And I'm Xavier Dean.
And this video is brought to you by ducks.
Yes, ducks.
They're not geese.
They're definitely not geese. And you can put them on the front of your Jeep and in the back of your Jeep if you choose to.
You know, the only reason I thought of ducks was because of, back in grade school band, we would have like those fundraisers. And,
yes.
And we would get to collect the ducks. I believe I still have it in my house with the lanyard.
I
have some of the Marvel ducks, like the Iron Man. I think I have Hulk that glows in the dark, and I think Captain America.
The only one of those I knew I had was the Hulk duck. Everything else, that was the only one I cared for.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else was just...
Yeah. But I mentioned this today because the topic that I decided to pick today was band memories, specifically from grade school to high school. And I think we have more to say in terms of like the high school ones, just because we have, at least for me though, they really defined like the start of my music career, but there's also like some funny moments in there as well.
Oh, there's loads.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's high school was closer than middle school, and that's about it.
Yeah. But today, I thought we would talk about some of our favorite grade school band memories. You know, they don't all have to be good. They don't all have to be bad. They have to at least be a little bit funny.
They do have to be funny. Also, in case none of you have noticed yet, instead of Jake going to where I live and us going around town, I have made the trip to see him.
Yeah. Well,
as you can tell from the infamous slanted wall in the back.
The iconic wall slant.
The iconic wall.
Yeah. We also have these really great chairs.
Yep. It's phenomenal chairs.
Maybe we should have done a movie topic today because these are great movie director chairs.
Should have.
Yeah, but band memories are also pretty good too.
Yeah.
Of course, we're going through most of the band memories as much as we can, and although we're not necessarily on a strict time limit today, we'll try and keep these short. And
we still have a somewhat strict time limit. We still gotta make it to the movie.
Yeah, we're going to see Fantastic Four today.
Yep, as you can tell from my fabulous Invisible Woman shirt. You don't see her until I start sweating.
Yeah, but anyways, a lot of these could be their own discussions in the future. But I thought we would at least go through some of our personal favorites. So I guess I'll start this off since it is my topic, or at least I chose the topic. But the first thing I wanted to talk about was choosing an instrument, which I find to, at least for me, to be interesting. So for those of you that don't know, I have 3 older siblings, 2 older sisters and a brother, and my brother and I have been the only ones to ever do band in school, both grade school and high school. Well, except for me, because I continued on from there since I have a career in music. But my brother did grade school and high school band, and he was a drummer. And when I had the choice, well, my parents were going to let me do grade school band no matter what. They had me involved in all sorts of stuff back then, taekwondo and whatnot. But I had to choose an instrument, and initially I wanted to choose drums because of my brother. I don't think I ever told you that.
I vaguely remember you mentioning drums.
Yeah, but I wanted to be a drummer just like my brother, And although my mom didn't outrightly say that at the time, she didn't really want another drummer in the house.
Yeah.
But then my second option, I wanted to play the flute. And my mom wouldn't allow that either. And I didn't know why at the time, but apparently the reason why was because typically it was the girls that got to play the flute. And
case in point, Terry Crews. He's now a girl. Jake said it. Not me. Terry Crews, if you happen to watch this, it's all him. Beat him up.
No, but I had some trouble back then, you know, making friends, because like people thought I was kind of weird, and like back then at that age I didn't really care that much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I knew about some stuff about me, but like I didn't really care that much about, you know, being around people that much. My mom did though. Not in the same way that you would think, but you know, they were trying to get me more socially involved and more importantly actively involved. But when it came time to choose an instrument, I remember trying a trumpet, a trombone, and a saxophone. And the reason I chose the saxophone, it was not because I heard someone else play the saxophone before. I didn't even know about the instrument at that time. But I chose the instrument because it looked weird. And that was it.
Perfect choice. Perfect choice.
Yeah.
Well, if you went off of your stand or your reason for picking a certain instrument, I guess I gotta go with mine. So for those of you who don't know, my first instrument was a baritone. I ended up going to trombone later on. That might be told later today. But for me, there was, my father was in band and my aunt was in band. And I remember watching the bands at the school assemblies every year. I'm sitting here like, man, these are so cool. I want to take part in this. Like your typical nerd. And fourth grade, there was this assembly, and we got to choose our instruments. And I guess I'm a girl too, because my first instrument was flute that I tried. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a single note out. But
flute's a tough instrument to start off. But like, here's the thing: once you get the embouchure down, it's a pretty easy instrument to learn. And like, although I'm kind of saying that after playing saxophone, because fingering wise, it's very similar to saxophone. Mm-hmm. Just you're holding it sideways.
Right. But regardless, couldn't play a single note after however many tries. After that, I tried the trumpet because that was what my father played when he was in band.
Oh.
It took me 7 tries, and I barely was able to play a note because it's got a small mouthpiece and I got a big mouth. What?
Nothing.
No. What were you gonna say, Jake?
I guess you were a loud talker.
I was very loud. You could ask the people at a disc golf tournament I ran. I have a megaphone setting in my voice. But anyway, tried a couple times, couldn't get a note out until the last time, and it was not a good sounding note. And then the band director, he said, how about this? Let's try a baritone mouthpiece, which is just a little bigger than the trumpet. Played it, was able to make a sound, and a good sound, not just not what I did with the trumpet. So after that, I ended up starting playing baritone. So unlike him, who was like, oh yeah, this looks weird, I like it. Mine was more, hey, something I can play, cool.
Yeah. I mean, I know for my case, like, it wasn't just the fact that it looked weird. Like, I think my first reaction to the instrument was, what the fetch is this? Seriously, because it has such an odd shape to it. And, like,
Although he didn't use the word fetch. He was a really big potty mouth back then. I should know.
I didn't start to develop my potty mouth until high school, but yeah. Anyways, going off some other grade school band memories, I remember the garden concerts that we used to do at the Botanical Gardens.
Yeah.
And I wish I cared more about performing back then. Just a pretense, I did not care about practicing back then or performing, because I mainly did it just because my parents forced me to. And yet I still perform music today, and I absolutely love it.
See, and I liked performing at the Botanical Gardens. And
I would enjoy doing it now. Like, performing at gardens, you know, that's pretty cool, and the concept is interesting. If you've ever been to the Botanical Gardens in Streator, Illinois, you know, there's a lot of different areas that you could go to. It's not like a very huge place, but it's a very nice area. But I hope, you know, we get to do stuff like that again one of these days. But the main thing I want to talk about, because I want to start with grade school trips. So, of course, in grade school band, especially when we got to like the junior high level concert band, that was where I first met Xavier.
I was the weird kid under the visors.
And I was the weird kid on the middle of the risers, I guess. Although, you know, we were kind of in the same area too, because I remember that one semester I played baritone saxophone. We were literally sitting right next to each other, and that was like the best thing ever.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, but the main thing about during that time period, the 2 years that we were in junior high band together, was the trip that we did to Six Flags.
Yes.
Yeah, so at the end of the year, during the summer, the band graduates got to do a trip to Six Flags, and that was a pretty cool trip.
It was.
Because we went to all the rides, we went on the Dark Knight ride, we went on Batman, we went on freaking Goliath.
Yes, we did.
And we had to convince ourselves, or at least you had to convince me to go on it.
Yeah, I had to convince you, because I've been on before, and I love the ride. And you're sitting here like, I don't know, it's scary.
And yet, we went full on with it, and like, so glad I did it.
Yeah.
We also did, there was that longest wind roller coaster. I forgot what it was called. Something having to do with snakes.
Oh, the Viper.
Yeah, Viper. That was really cool. But it was a very fun trip.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yep. I ended up, after going home, I had kept track of how many rides we had gone through, and I compared it with the other ones. Because again, I'm a nerd. That's what I do. And Jake and I ended up riding more rides in the shorter amount of time than any other year that I've gone to Six Flags with my family.
So before we move on to high school, do you have any other grade school band memories that you want to say?
So not really a funny one. So in grade school, we had, well, all throughout our band, like our years of band, we had this thing called solo and ensemble, where you could, I mean, for lack of a better term, it's you play a solo and or play music with a group of people and get graded on it by a bunch of judges. And I remember my 8th grade year, because that was the year we had to play a solo. I ended up performing a song, and I don't remember what the song was called. I know part of the title was Elephant, which shows how my memory is. Can't remember the full title, but I remember an animal. And it was one of the hardest songs to try on the baritone that I could think of. I remember day of, I don't know if it was that I stopped looking at the music and just started playing how I thought it sounded, or if I was just winging it, but about halfway through, it felt like I was just playing nothing. Like it seemed like I wasn't playing what was on the notes. I was just trying to finish the song as fast as possible. Somehow I managed to get a grade of an A, so it worked out.
Yeah, I remember doing solo and ensemble too. I don't remember that much about it compared to high school, which we'll get to that later. But I remember, like, I guess I just didn't really care that much. I did remember doing that master class afterwards, and like I wish I paid attention to that sheet that he gave us, because looking back at it, it was pretty good. But I remember one of the things had to do with tone development, and it was just don't sound like a flaming hot goose. Because if you make a bad saxophone sound, that's pretty much what it sounds like. But
I don't know. For me, the only reason I remember that specifically wasn't just because I got an A, but there was another baritone player. She was in band up until, I want to say, our junior year of school. And she was one of those people with the personality of, I'm better than you at everything. She is, I want to be in charge. I want to be better than everyone. That particular solo and ensemble, I had gotten a better score than she did, and she threw a fit. So that's the only reason I remember that.
yeah, well, I'll have more to say about that later.
Yep.
At least on my end of things. So, I guess we can move on now to our high school memories, which there's a lot. There is a lot. We probably have more memorable stuff going on with high school than we did with grade school.
Yeah.
But
the good, the bad, the nice friends we made, the bullies that we were unfortunately related to.
Yeah, I have some memories specifically with that I do want to discuss for good reasons, mind you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I remember our first high school marching band season. You know, it was all about Wicked, and the only reason I knew of the music, not know it, but knew of it, was because my sister used to play musical soundtracks all the time. It was always Phantom of the Opera and then Wicked. So I recognized No One Mourns the Wicked and Defying Gravity. But we also had a new band director that came in because it was her first year.
And then because I'm sure we are going to talk about her a lot, let's just call her Julie.
Sure, I'm cool with that.
That's not her actual name. It was just something she was called once at a band competition and became a running joke. So, Julie it is.
Yeah. So Julie, it was her first year as a band director, which was also our first year in high school band. And this, I'm sure you have stuff to say about your end of things, but in terms of my end, that whole entire year, like beyond marching band, this was the year where I really started to realize that I sucked. Really bad. I'm not kidding you. Like, I legitimately was internally thinking to myself, I sucked so bad, and I really didn't care. So during that first year of high school, I remember I did start to practice every day and started to care about practicing. I practiced for like a half an hour every day. The only problem was I did not know how to practice.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of, like, I knew what to work on. I just did not know back then how to structure practice sessions very well.
Mm-hmm.
But on top of that, I also didn't know how to. I didn't want to ask for help either.
Yeah, Jake's one of those men. Doesn't want to ask for help at all.
Shut up. But I do have some memories having to do with freshman year. Well, two in particular. One, so we had drum majors. Well, we have drum majors for every marching band season, but this particular season we had three. Two of them were seniors, and one of those seniors, and just to give you a picture of who I was during most of high school, I was very antisocial for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had a small group of friends. He was part of that small group of friends.
Yep, I was.
But
Unfortunately.
But when it came to other people, I just did not handle stuff very well. On the outside, I was fine.
Mm-hmm.
But on the inside, like, I just did not know how to communicate very well with other people.
You're communicating with me just fine.
Yes, but I was also more comfortable with you, and we were also both weirdos.
That's true.
But I remember one day, I was just passing by the drum major, like it was during the band room, and out of nowhere, and I'm saying out of nowhere, there was no build up to this whatsoever. She turns around, and then she's like, "You know what, Jake? You look like Tobey Maguire." And I was just, my brain was in total shock by that comment. Like, I didn't know what to think about that, so I was just like, thanks.
Spider-Man plays the saxophone in the band.
That was pretty good.
Thank you.
But yeah.
That was improv, by the way. That was not planned.
Yeah, so I really, it just really, those moments just kind of stick out to me because I really had that type of social awkwardness back then.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it was during that year of high school where I decided during our concert band season to do jazz band.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was jazz band in grade school, it was an extracurricular activity. I just wasn't interested in it, but grade school, there were sign-ups and auditions for it, so I was like, you know what, let's try it. And if I don't like it, I won't do it next year.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you think I ended up going? But
the jazz community corrupted him.
And actually, while I'm talking about jazz band now, because freshman year, this is a good opportunity. So this freshman year, there were two of my earliest music memories, not just band, but music and memories in general, have to do with these two events. So we did jazz competitions, and there were two that we did. There was Rolling Meadows, which we did every year because they have a big jazz festival for all the high school bands. But then we went to the University of Illinois Chicago, and this was the only time we ever went there. Two things I remember about that competition was one, a bullet hole on the window. And then two, Chris Potter performing. Now, for those of you that don't know, Chris Potter, he's still around. He's one of the greatest jazz saxophonists, living saxophonists. But I think even once he passes away, he'll still be remembered as a great jazz saxophonist. But I had no idea what jazz was at that time. I didn't know any jazz artists. So of course, I didn't know who Chris Potter was, and I didn't know how big of a deal he was. But we watched him anyways, and he's a saxophonist. I guess I was interested. That whole performance and just hearing him play, like, I was amazed. It was the first time I heard a legitimately good saxophonist and actually recognized it, to the point where I was like, that is what a saxophone is supposed to sound like? I thought it just made weird honking noises. And I even to this day, so I didn't have a cell phone back then, but I did have and still have a Nintendo 3DS that I would take pictures on.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a selfie with Chris Potter, and I still have it on my 3DS.
That is. So the funny thing is, my grandfather on my mom's side, he doesn't have a cell phone, but he carries his 3DS around specifically to take
Oh
pictures.
my god!
So that is something I can see him doing.
Yeah, but yeah, I still have that. It was a great moment for me. The other moment, this one is a little bit. I'm not sure whether I should say tragic or sad. It definitely was a defining moment for me. So we still had solo and ensemble competitions in high school, and for the most part they were optional, at least early on in the year they were. But I remember, so he wasn't around for like the jazz band competition that I was a part of. And,
no, jazz isn't for me.
But
I'll listen. But, I don't.
But you were there for senior year.
Yeah.
Well,
I still am waiting for my $100 check from the band director.
We'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
But you also weren't around for freshman year solo and ensemble.
No, I think I was there. Because solo and ensemble every year was in Princeton.
Not every year. This one wasn't.
Where was this one?
This one was, well, it was part of a different organization. This one was part of Violent MEA, whereas the other ones we took a part of the year afterwards, it was IHSA.
Okay.
Yeah, but you weren't, because like we would always sit together in the school bus.
That's
Freshman
true.
year, whatever trip we were a part of, we were around.
That's true. That's true.
But, and I remember this particular one, I was kind of uncomfortable because even though my mom was in the bus, I was also just your typical teenager back then.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't really want to sit next to their parents. But I remember just being like in the back of the bus, and you know, I remember some of our usual friends weren't there, so I was kind of all alone, and I just felt kind of awkward in general.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a solo, and I was performing in sax quartet as well. Now, again, I was practicing, and I know what you're thinking, but
I misheard sax. I'm sorry.
But I had a solo that I was performing, and I was practicing on it, and I had an accompanist with me. Again, I really did not know how to practice, but I performed the solo, and on that performing day, I just got, for the first time, I got nerves like you wouldn't believe. Like, my throat was shaking, my limbs were shaking,
There were actual butterflies in his stomach. Like, he would burp and a butterfly would fly out.
Felt like it anyways, but like, oh man, I felt like my tone was shaking so bad, and the judge just really hammed it on me. Yeah, I didn't feel particularly great. I got Division 2, which isn't bad,
Right.
but like, because the lowest that you could get was like Division 3 and 4. So I got Division 2, which was alright, but I didn't feel particularly great afterwards. And I straight up remember crying in the bus because I just felt so horrible. That was, that day, I felt like I was at one of the lowest points in my life, and where I literally said to myself, I needed help. And, you know, it was a good moment for me because I ended up getting a private teacher out of that, which I begged my mom for. And then I guess the last memory from my freshman year was the lock-in that we had. And we played hide and seek, which was a lot of fun. So for those of you, I'm sure most of you would know this, but we had lock-ins at the high school. And for our band program, we spent the night in the high school, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We did a couple of those.
Yeah, I remember during the second round of hide and seek. Because first round, I thought I had a good hiding spot, but it was where someone else was going to hide. They found me. Second time around, had the perfect hiding spot. Was hiding under the bleachers. No one was going to look because no one thinks anyone can fit under the bleachers. Mm-hmm. Problem was, it was 2 o'clock in the morning, and I fell asleep. And I still lost because one of our band members, who's a percussionist, instead of going and looking for people, apparently he had grabbed one of the basketballs from one of the gym closets, started throwing it at the bleachers for fun while everyone else was looking, woke me up. I shot up and hit my head on the bottom of the bleachers.
Oh man, that must have hurt.
It hurt. It also blew my cover. He found me, and I'm sitting here like, Arr.
Yeah, I don't think I hit it on a particularly good spot, but it wasn't bad either. I remember just hiding on like I think it was either the second or third floor of the building.
Didn't one of our drum majors hide in a trash can?
I don't remember.
Did.
A lot of the stuff looking back, it is kind of fuzzy for me.
That was also the first time I learned how to play poker. We weren't gambling. No gambling was involved.
Yeah. So, do you have? So, that's all I can remember from my freshman year, at least defining moments for me. But do you have any others?
I have a few. So, unlike Jake, who practiced every day, I wasn't so good at practicing on a schedule. I'm going to be honest, the only times outside of band class I would actually practice if I came in early enough and felt like I needed to practice, or if practice was assigned to us. Mm-hmm. But, besides that, marching band, I had a section leader. He was a section leader for both freshman and sophomore year. I have the unfortunate situation where he happens to be a distant relative to me. So, there was that. But he was by far one of the biggest bullies for me in band. Not like, he wasn't the one that give me a wedgie or swirly. I didn't have any of that. But
a swirly?
Yeah, it's where you stick someone's head in a toilet, you flush the toilet.
I did not know that was called that.
Pretty sure it's called swirly.
I don't know.
I don't know it from personal experience. I watched too many movies with it. But anyway, that first year, I don't remember how it was, but it was like he was passing out the marching baritones, which are completely different from the normal baritones. Normal baritones are like miniature tubas. You hold it like this, play. For a marching baritone, it looks like a bigger trumpet. And we had just gotten new silver ones, and so he and the other 3 people in the baritone section got the silver ones. And I was left, because he specifically didn't like me, with this brass one that was it sounded so ugly. I mean, it ended up making me a better player, because subconsciously, without even thinking about it, I learned how to adjust my embouchure, even with the tuning slide out all the way, so that I can so it sounds like I'm actually playing the notes I'm supposed to be playing. Mm-hmm. The tuning slide was out so much that if I were playing an F, it would sound like an E natural.
Yeah.
I think that was how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it has been a while since I played baritone, Like I said, I moved to trombone, and that's just its own life. But regardless,
Yeah.
so like I said, he bullied me. It wasn't like he did anything physical that year, except for whenever someone else would do something wrong, I was included with the punishment. So for band, punishments were push-ups and running laps. So every time someone else would make a mistake, them and myself would have to do push-ups or run. So that was that. When it comes to Wicked itself, band was my first introduction to Wicked. Not only was band my first introduction to Wicked, band was, in a way, the gateway to me being more involved in musicals. I wasn't a musical kid. I wasn't in the actual musicals. But nowadays I listen to a lot of musicals. I listen to some of the Wicked songs. I listen to Hamilton, Epic the Musical that came out recently, Tick Tick Boom. I've been listening to the Outsiders musical recently, Beetlejuice, Heathers, Dear Evan Hansen, all that stuff. But band got me introduced with all of that, and I think part of that was because we played it for our marching show, and then part of it was because that November, after we finished our show, we were able to sign up and pay a price to go see Wicked live.
Yeah.
At the Peoria
Civic Center.
Yeah, Peoria Civic Center.
I've been there a couple times to watch other musicals, but I remember watching the musical with you and other people, and I remember when our friends be like, the guy that's playing as Oz is also the same guy that played as Professor Oak in the Pokemon anime. By the way, what's the actor's name?
Oh, I got no clue.
He passed away recently. He played other Pokemon anime characters, and I'm sure did other voice acting roles as well. But that was cool to see.
That was. But other than that, freshman band for me was pretty tame. There is one thing. It was, because at the time we only had 2 trombones and we had 5 baritones. One of the previous band directors, really nice guy. I think I'm just gonna call him. What should we call him? We're gonna call him Mr. Korn. I'm not gonna explain the reason why. It has nothing to do with Korn itself. But so Mr. Korn, he walks up to me shortly after we're finished with the marching band season, and he asks me if I want to play trombone. I figured, hey, yeah, might as well. So from like November all the way to about March, here I am in band playing like an altered, like a valve trombone. So I still worked with my fingers while also getting used to how the trombone holds.
Yeah.
And while that's going on, he and I are going over slide positions. He gives me this trombone music book with Disney songs, so I could work on that, because I'm a big Disney guy.
Yeah.
It was going really well all the way until March, when the valve part, because the trombones, you separate it from a screw right here. The part with the valve ended up breaking. We weren't able to fix it. So instead I went back to baritone and I stayed there for an extra 3 years. Which does lead to a couple awkward situations in my sophomore and junior year.
Yeah. Band was also the first time I really had some help when it comes to playing the saxophone because, oh my gosh, I may have talked about this before. I know I have with you, but like my embouchure was so messed up.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'll get up just a little bit, but like typically your saxophone embouchure has to be like lip curled on the bottom teeth, and your top teeth are like in, and like the reed, your tongue placement has to be where the tip of the reed is at. But where my mouth was at for most of my grade school years as a saxophonist, yeah, I didn't have the best sound in the world. But high school was where I was learning how to do a proper saxophone embouchure. Although not really, because I had some tight embouchure issues early on. So, and that's why I really needed a teacher. Once I got my teacher and once summer rolled around, I decided then and there I was going to practice for 1 hour a day. And with his help, I've been able to get a start of a structure going. It felt much more structured compared to the way that I used to practice. But this will lead us now into our sophomore year in band, which I know both of us have a lot to say about that. So
I think for time's sake,
Mhm.
you might want to just skip to the good ones.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, I got. Well, we won't go into full detail with a lot of these, but like Medusa. So we did a lot of games in marching band, and some of them were fun. Others were to help us develop like better discipline. But one of those games that helped develop discipline was Medusa, and the goal of this game was the fact that you had to hold an attention position while other people were trying to break you out of that. I'm sure they did something similar to that in military camps.
Oh, they had to.
Except way more strict, probably.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. By the time my sophomore year rolled around, I was really devoted and serious about practicing. Like, I'm not kidding you, that once I was done with my lunch, I would practice afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
That was how much my mentality changed. There were other things surrounding that. You know, I was testing for my black belt at this time. I got my first job around that time too. I was developing much more responsibility for myself.
Mm-hmm.
But
he had some great power.
I was
and
gonna
he got
mention,
great responsibility.
I was gonna mention something about that. But anyways, but we were playing Medusa, and people just could not break me, and I tried so hard. Like it was the 3 drum majors that we had that year, and the color guard captain just trying to break me. I ended up losing the game because when you get to a certain amount of people, you had to do the marching basic tests afterwards just to whittle down the people, and I ended up losing. But I got close. I got close.
And unfortunately for me, this is where the return of the bully comes in, because that section leader. So, the overall goal of this is to try to make sure that your section stays there. The bully tried to get me out first. We were the same section, and he was trying to get me out.
Yeah.
This was also around the time he had gotten worse.
Yeah, I actually have a story about that. I will say about the 2017 competition though, this will be its own story for another day. But just to say, that whole rehearsal leading up to it, the lock-in, and then the competition afterwards was great. We were actually the first band to perform that whole competition.
So I just want to bring something up. So the competition we went to, which happens to be at where he currently goes to school, because of how many bands performed, when we performed, it happened to be at sunrise, and our show happened to be about, I forgot fully what it's about, but it involved
So the music for that year. So freshman year was Wicked, and then sophomore year, we had much more orchestral pieces.
We did have more.
We had Cobb Battlefield. We had
Claire de Lune. We had
no Claire de Lune was
or not Claire de Lune.
We had Night on Bald Mountain. We had I Dreamed a Dream from Les Miserables.
I could have sworn Claire de Lune was in.
Claire de Lune was junior year with The Door.
I got stories.
Yeah,
but,
I got stories about that too.
But so anyway, so the entire premise involved about like the sun rising, dawn of a new day, and us being the first performers. We ended up performing all of our music while the sun was rising on the stadium. And considering half of us were probably sleep deprived, it, at least for me, it is easily one of my top 5 most surreal moments. Just because
I think it was for a lot of people, and I know it was for me too, because like those competitions were so great because you felt the chill of the wind at that time, because it was during October and it was during the fall. But just feeling that whole experience. Again, we'll go more into detail about that another day.
Yeah.
Probably when we talk about like the individual competitions. But speaking of musicals, actually no, let me talk about this real quick.
Yeah.
So kind of point with Medusas. One time we were having a sectional and we were in the attention position while our section leaders were just checking us out, and there were 2 bees that were just on my knees, and I didn't notice it until they were pointed out. And here's the thing. I guess they weren't really bees. They were kind of like yellow jackets or something. But
oh, those are worse.
Well, maybe not yellow jackets. They weren't your typical honeybees. But they were bees. I have a thing about bees, not honeybees, but like anything that's like a hornet or a yellow jacket or a wasp, I do not like those. But like, I absolutely wanted to run off from those, but I stayed in that attention position. And they were pointing it out to the other people. It's like, what excuse do you guys have? He's got like 2 bees on his knees, and I'm like, what?
Hey, they're just saying that you've got the bee's knees.
I didn't even put bees knees as pointed out. The other cool thing about sophomore year, though, you were mentioning musicals earlier, and one of my favorite moments was when we did that trip to go see Hamilton.
Yes.
Again, will be its own story, but like that whole trip there, sitting next to a great friend of mine now on the bus, having that great conversation to the trip and back while seeing the musical in between, just great. Great.
Unfortunately, I wasn't that friend. I did go, but I wasn't sitting next to him. I was sitting next to a different.
During that time, we were kind of separate, doing our own thing. It was.
I would say our friendship at that time was like the Fellowship of the Ring during the Two Towers.
That's a pretty good analogy.
Yeah, because you had Frodo and Samwise off to take care of the ring.
And Gollum.
And then you had the rest of the Fellowship going, gathering the armies. Although, who would be Sam and Frodo and Gollum, and who would be the Fellowship in this situation?
I do not know, honestly.
Because I feel like, looking at how both of our high school experiences were, I would say you would be more the Samwise and Frodo side, and I was more the Fellowship of the Ring side.
Yeah, well, I was so devoted to music by then that like I really wanted to understand the people that were also really devoted to music. I had this thing, well, I'm sure everyone in band had this thing, but like we had certain musicians in the band that like were really devoted to music. And I really looked up to those people a lot as well. So I kind of wanted to follow their example, and that was both a good thing, but it was also kind of a crutch.
Yeah.
A discussion for its own point for another time.
Yeah.
The other thing, though, this was the case from sophomore year to senior year, but the New Trier Jazz Festivals was when I was really starting to get into the jazz scene more. Starting to notice like different groups. Like for sophomore and junior year, we got to see the Delfeo Marsalis Jazz Orchestra and then the Count Basie Jazz Orchestra, and those were really great competitions, really legit musicians that really know their craft and know it well. And I hope to return to it someday. Anything else you have to say about sophomore year, or?
Okay, I got one big story.
I think I might know what this one is.
So, as part of marching band, we go to these different parades. This one particular parade happened to be not in our town, but a town, like a small town, maybe 7 miles away.
Yeah.
Before the parade, the bully was just the worst he has ever been. I mean, like, he was telling me to do push-ups for no reason, and while I was doing push-ups for a reason, he had his foot on my back, pushing me down as I'm trying to do.
Nope.
Yep. The band director noticed. She was going to discipline him, or Julie was going to discipline him the day after. I'm going to get to why it was and not did. So anyway, we take part in the performance. And at the end of the performance, he tosses his baritone with the case to me and says, "Take this to the band room for me." Now, I'm a nice guy. I did it. I did exactly that. We get to the band room. I put my stuff away. I then walk up to the band director, Julie, and I'm like, "Hey, Julie, what should I do with the bully's baritone? Should I like leave it out front? Should I put it in his locker?" And she's like, "Well, that depends. Want to be nice, or do you want to be sassy?" That is the exact wording.
That is the exact wording that she would use.
And her sassy approach was either to hide his instrument in the choir room, which is somewhere he could easily get to, or lock his instrument in my locker. Now, here's how oblivious I was. I stood there, completely honestly, looked at her, and I'm like, "Well, then I'm going to put it in the band room, or in the choir room, because I've got a field trip tomorrow, and I'm not going to be a band." And that is when she tells me, "Cool, lock it in your locker." So I did, and then to make sure that he didn't try to break in, I also flipped my own lock. To be fair, I did that on occasion just so I could know how to get out when I had the lock flipped. But anyway, locked his instrument in my locker, flipped the lock, and I had fun on the field trip. The field trip was to see a solar eclipse. I kept getting messages from the other band, or from the other low brass members saying, "What did you do? He's being mean to us. He's mad at you." He spent that full week without a baritone.
A full week?
He spent the full week, and the reason the reason why was because I was told specifically not to hand him his baritone. He had to get it himself. So that entire week, I left my locker unlocked. You know, I'm like, "Hey, if you want your baritone, you can get it. My locker's unlocked." He didn't get it until that Friday, because we had a football game. and he needed his baritone.
Mm-hmm.
So, got revenge. This is why Julie was going to discipline him.
Mm-hmm.
Because instead of her disciplining him, I was the one who ended up disciplining him.
Nice.
And that kind of solidified Julie as one of my top teachers at the high school.
Yeah. For the record, I knew the story before he got into it, and in fact, one of the reasons I wanted to do this topic just so that way you could talk about it. But I didn't know that part though. I didn't know he spent a full week without it.
No, he spent the full week.
Yeah, but
and it was to a point where, so that he could grab it, I took it out of my locker and left it in front.
Yeah. Speaking of him, though, I have a small story about him. So, my sophomore year, I was the lead alto for a jazz band, and he was lead trombone. And while he wasn't as much of a bully to me as he was to you, he still, he more so annoyed me than anything.
He was kind of a bully to everyone.
Yeah, but I was telling a teacher that I had at the time, my Taekwondo teacher, who was also one of the teachers at the high school, I was telling him that, like, hey, so because one of the things that he would do, because as trombone players, as you would know, they have a slide. And in a jazz band setting, the saxophones are in front of the trombones. So he would proceed to poke me in the back with the trombone. And when I say poke, I don't mean like a light touch. Like, he would shove his slide onto my shoulder. And it was so annoying. I told him to stop so many times. But kind of similar to Xavier's story, except not as egregious. My instructor told me, because he knew the kid from like his classes and such. Mm-hmm. He would tell me, the next time he does that to you, you grab his trombone slide and tell him, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. What? He told me to grab his slide, turn around, look him in the eye, and say, I'm going to take this slide out of your trombone, put it in your butthole, and it will tune to a B flat. And that is exactly what I did. Except I didn't say butthole. But I did that. I said that, and he never messed with me again.
Yeah, he still messed with me. He actually may have messed with me more because of that. What sucked was I was also on the classical team with him, so it's...
Yeah.
But also, I do have my own stories pertaining to his Taekwondo director, because I had him as a teacher for 1 year. Mm-hmm. But that's going to be for another day.
Yeah.
Speaking of things for another day, how far is the movie theater from here?
From here?
Yep.
I mean, probably around 9 minutes.
Around 9 minutes.
So, like...
Do you think it might be best if we try to save junior and senior year for a different day?
Maybe.
Because I've got some stories for both junior and senior year.
You know what? Seeing how this is going, we could... yeah, it's about a 10-minute drive. So I think we could save this for another day. I was hoping to get to some of the other stuff today, but honestly... We
got through the main parts. We got through his Tobey Maguire and my locking an instrument in my locker. That wasn't mine.
Yeah, and slides.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so next time we talk about this, we're going to hit topics such as R2-D2, Bean Museum,
The Door. And then my own bully story, and how I came out of it okay, and then
Stab Aside. We're going to eventually talk about Stab Aside. Mm-hmm. Don't look it up because I don't think there's anything for Stab Aside when you try to look it up.
And we also have to talk about Disney trip, at least.
Well, that's what I mean by R2D2.
Oh.
Hold on. Gotta do one good one before we go.
Okay.
Good enough.
Yeah, and then.
Woo! I can't do
good.
Alright, but that'll be for another time. I would say next week, but I do have a pretty fun topic for next week. Sorry, the screensaver happened to pop up right at that moment. Now I know it takes an hour. But anyway, so I've got a fun topic for next week, so we might not hit that next week, but maybe within the next couple of weeks we'll come back and talk about our junior and senior years. So, that being said, Jake, you want to do the outro since you did an intro?
Yep. So, with that being said, I'm Jacob Green.
And I'm Xavier Dean.
And we hope y'all have a lovely day. And to those band members right now, if any of you have a bully, make sure you get your revenge.
Yes.
But not the murderous kind.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah.
Alright.
Don't commit murder.
Yeah.
Or at least don't get caught. Yep.